Time again for Talking Dogs with Ian Grant, owner of Vermont Dog Boarding and Behavior, VFW Drive Hyde Park. It's the show that delves into the training, socializing, behavior, nutrition, and wellness of your dog. Brought to you by Guy's Farm and Yard, with locations in Morrisville, Montpelier, Williston, and St. Albans. If it eats and grows, Guy's can feed it. And we're back with the trainer, Ian Grant. And this week, another top 3 list, Ian.
Yes.
Okay, so what are we talking about this time around?
Top 3 mistakes dog owners make.
We make mistakes.
And trainers do it too, so I'm not pointing any fingers here.
Okay, so you're not just looking at me. Okay.
No.
All right. So as much as we try to do our best to do what's best for our dogs, we sometimes we kind of mess up a little bit, and probably inadvertently. I mean, no dog owner intentionally wants to make a mistake in bringing up their dog. So let's start with number 3.
Number 3 is affection at the wrong time.
There's a wrong time for affection. I think we've talked about this before. You mean it isn't a good idea to just to come up to Tika and just love her all the time? There's a bad time to do that?
Yeah, I just find that we tend to smother a little bit. It's probably a good word.
Yeah.
Most of the time people will say, well, what is the wrong time? I think that's really what this boils down to. So the wrong time is when your dog is doing something that you don't agree with. A lot of times it can be excitement. The dog's jumping up on you and you know, you're saying good boy or good girl and you're petting them. You're telling them, I want more of this. So that's a biggie. Also, if your dog is shaking, scared, or nervous and giving them affection, then even though our human brain says, I'm just trying to soothe you, the dog brain can sometimes get confused by that.
So when we're saying it's okay, in other words, it's okay to be nervous.
Yeah, I wish that statement in itself is it's okay to be this way. They don't speak English. They don't, and they can't sense.
They take everything literally, just about.
Yeah. They do, because it's all present state of mind kind of stuff. So want to make sure that we're giving affection at the right time when they're calm.
Okay, so that's number 3. Number 2.
Not enough mental stimulation.
Okay, i.e. not taking them out for walks enough, not playing with them enough.
Yeah,
like that.
Because they just start to get bored. And a bored dog is the one that starts to dig holes, starts to chew on furniture, starts to rip apart, you know, your slippers and your socks and your shoes and winter hats and that kind of thing. So anything that we can do, whether it's scent games inside, it's play, it's training, it's walks, hikes, just something to kind of get them out and get them stimulated. But when they start to get that pent up is when behaviors can go sideways.
So when they do that, we shouldn't be blaming the dog. We should be blaming ourselves.
Yeah, we get a dog for more than just having, somebody in the house with us. We also have to provide for them too.
Right, provide their needs too, because they do have needs as well.
Yes.
All right, so not enough mental stimulation, number 2. And the number 1 mistake that we dog owners make is
waiting too long to get help.
Yeah, I suppose that you come across a lot of folks that fit that category, like when you're saying, well, why didn't you come to me sooner? What usually is the response from the dog owners?
Usually it's I didn't think it was that bad.
Yeah.
Or we just learned to live with it. Or, the bubble gets smaller, meaning if your dog reacts to humans, then we just put the dog away when somebody comes over, a guest comes over to our house, so we don't have to deal with our dog.
Right.
And this just happens over time. This becomes the proverbial snowball effect where it just gets worse and worse and worse. And if the dog's been practicing it for a couple of years, it's not going to get fixed in a week.
In fact, the longer you wait, and we've mentioned this many, many times before, the longer you wait, the learning curve increases.
Yeah, there's an old adage that says for every year your dog's been practicing a behavior, it takes a month to undo it.
Month?
Yes.
Wow.
So think about a month to get rid of 1 year, because we have to set that new pattern in motion. We've talked a lot about patterns. We have to set that new pattern in motion, and if we can't, or if we don't and we're not consistent about it, then that month could turn into 2 months or 3 months to try to undo that year. So it takes a lot of work.
Would it depend on what the issue is, too? If it's something that's a little bit more severe, maybe it'll take longer than a month, or if not so much, less. But still, you're going to have to crack down.
Yeah, I was just on a Zoom call with somebody this morning, and their dogs have been fighting in the house since April. So it's
Since April.
So it's not a long ways away, and it's only been a few fights, but it's still like, okay, this is they've reached out already, which it would have been ideal if it was April that they reached out. but they're kind of getting the idea like this is more serious than what we thought and we need help. So, and also the longer that you wait, the more expensive the training can be because you're going to need a lot more lessons than the 1 or 2 pointers that change everything.
Right. So, I mean, did they think that the problem was just going to go away, or were they trying to fix it themselves?
Well, they start to just separate the dogs.
And that's it.
And that's it.
And that doesn't get to the crux of the problem.
Well, not at all, because now you're living in a house where one dog has to be in one room and another dog has to be in another room, and you have to rotate them and make sure they don't see each other.
It's like separating your kids.
It is. It is. And, of course, they can't speak English, so dogs don't know. It changes the way they live.
We have yet to interview a dog over the 7 years of this program. So there you have it, the top 3 dog owners' mistakes that we make in trying to love our dogs and trying to bring them up, but sometimes we owners, well, we gotta sometimes go back to the drawing board.
We do.
Back with our question from the doggy bag in just a moment here on Talking Dogs. Back with Talking Dogs with Ian Grant from Vermont Dog Boarding and Behavior, VFW Drive Hyde Park. Question this morning, Ian, is my dog gets easily overwhelmed by other dogs. How can I help her? So I would say, as a
go ahead, Professor,
as a trainer in training,
yes.
I would, I suppose you could just avoid other dogs, but that's not going to get to the crux of the problem, though.
Yeah. So this is about advocating for your dog.
Right.
Making sure that they know that you are there to protect them, to shield them to a degree from the other dogs. The other part of this, too, is I would try to find a friend who has a dog that's probably an older dog to start with. Somebody that's probably not going to run right up and get into this dog's face and overwhelm him. Somebody that has a calmer energy about him. I mean, this is where senior dogs can be amazing.
Yeah. In fact, I think we talked about this not too awful long ago when having play dates, to have a younger dog play with an older dog. This is kind of the same thing.
Yeah, especially if that younger dog is too overwhelming to the old dog. Vice versa. The old dog can kind of, create those rules and boundaries. In this situation, this is where this older dog can just hang with this dog that gets easily overwhelmed and go, okay, this is what it's like to be with me. And then over time, you can slowly, gradually introduce them to, a little bit more energetic dogs. But this, again, is not a quick fix. This takes some time. And it just takes a lot of patience, but it can be done. And the other part of it, too, the roundabout way of dealing with this is I would start to do things to build confidence in this dog. Change the way they kind of feel about themselves. So we talked about homemade obstacle courses in the house to help kind of build that confidence. Play is a great way to build confidence. So that's the other thing that I would be working on, too, is just kind of changing how they feel about themselves.
It's like a dog mentoring program.
It is.
And it's administered by another dog.
Yes, and that's how they're so great for each other sometimes, too.
Yeah, that's great. And if you have a question for Ian, you can email him directly to info@VermontDogBoardingAndBehavior.com. Next week, mushrooms for dogs. I don't think that's a topic we've... Now, why is mushrooms such an issue?
Just because it's not something that's typically given to dogs for food. So I thought we'd dive into it because I've learned a lot lately about nutrition. So I thought I'd share some of my new knowledge.
So we're going to the nutrition portion of the program next week. Here on Talking Dogs with Ian Grant, brought to you by Guy's Farm and Yard, with locations in Morrisville, Montpelier, Williston, and St. Albans. If it eats and grows, Guy's can feed it. And for the trainer Ian Grant, I'm Roland LaJoy, and we are Talking Dogs.